Good morning and welcome to HRS 5200, Assistive Technology in Seating and Mobility. Well, I decided to change it up here again, and I'm back at my house and actually outside, so you might hear some of the birds chirping as I give my overview video for this week. So for this week, we'll be talking about Module 11, Power Mobility, Optimizing Driving, which actually was the module for last week, but I'm catching up today. And then Module 12, Alternative Drive Mechanisms. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about what I'm reading right now. The book I'm reading right now is Small Teaching Online by Flower Darby and James Lang. And it's kind of cool to read through it because I realized that there's a lot of concepts in this book that hopefully I'm actually using in developing the course, and I hope that you see it. As a student, I always want to know where the teachers, the instructors are coming from, and so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about it. The first thing they talk about is surfacing backward design, which to me that means start with the end in mind. Where do I want you to get by the end of the semester? And okay, let's start there and let's work backward. So hopefully you've seen how I've scaffolded the modules and scaffolded the assignments so that we get to a point that you know more about seating and mobility and can use it in everyday practice. The second one is guiding learning through engagement, and those are the learning activities that I do every week. Using media and technology tools with purpose, not just for the fun of it. So I hope you see that I'm trying to use the technology to help you learn, not just because it's kind of fun. And I think you may be able to hear that blackbird chirping at me, but hopefully you can hear me talking over that. And then the last one is building community. And that's one thing that I'm always trying to work on in an online environment. One of the ways I do that is I have a hub, the ARTC hub, the Assistive and Rehabilitative Technology Certificate Program hub. So if you want to join that, let me know. It's just a way for me to send out messages to students who are in the certificate program. But the other way that I do that is through these overview videos and assignment feedback. Okay, moving on to the actual module. So the reason that you're here, the first one is Module 11, Power Mobility, Optimizing Driving. And so that was the module for last week. I've included the learning outcomes, the things I'm hoping that you'll learn in my show notes, and I also included them on the overview page for the module. The first thing is I made a couple changes to Module 11. I updated the syllabus schedule based on feedback that I'd received from previous courses and also what I've been observing in this course so far this semester. I removed Chapter 13, Advanced Applications, from Module 11. I did this so that we could focus on optimizing driving. I thought the advanced application was just a little bit more than we needed to cover for this course. Module 11 builds on Module 10 and 9, so Module 9 and 10 provide the foundation for Module 11. And in Module 11, we focused on optimizing driving for power mobility. This includes selecting the appropriate drive wheels, so whether it's front wheel drive, mid wheel drive, or rear wheel drive, and programming the wheelchair. A lot of people don't realize that you can make a lot of changes to the wheelchair through the electronics, and so they just don't do it. And by making those changes, it can make it so that somebody can actually use their power wheelchair in everyday living and use it in more places and more settings. I like to use metaphors in this course, and one of the metaphors that I use sometimes is the automotive metaphor, at least in the case of the gas and diesel engine era. We're moving on to batteries, but in the gas and diesel era. And in that era, we oftentimes talk about getting under the hood and getting our hands dirty with like some of the oil and the grit and stuff. And hopefully you're seeing that in, feeling that for Module 11 in your ability to learn about the different parameters, whether it's the speed parameter, the acceleration, the torque, the power, and how do you use those different parameters to optimize the wheelchair. You know, we can't cover all the electronics, but hopefully that gives you a sense of some of the electronics that you can modify and change on a power wheelchair, or some of the parameters you can change on a power wheelchair. And then as you go out, you work with the wheelchair suppliers and wheelchair manufacturers to learn all of the different parameters that you can optimize and change. The last thing, well, a couple last things I want to talk about for Module 11 is first the learning activity. Chapter 12 is a great chapter that talks about optimizing your power wheelchair. And note that it was written by Amy Morgan, who I interviewed earlier in the semester, and we had an assignment about earlier in the semester. So I think it's kind of cool that we were able to bring her into the course and bring her back in terms of the chapter. One of the things that she talks about are mechanical bumpers and safety switches. And that's something that we oftentimes talk about in the mechanical world to help somebody. So if they run into an object or a wall, the power wheelchair will automatically stop. So it's starting to get to that autonomous vehicle type of a setting. But the book was written a few years ago, and now we're really talking about electronic sensors. And two of those examples are Braze Mobility and Lucy, who I've talked about earlier in the class. There are pros and cons to both the mechanical switches and the electronic switches. So as you're reading through the chapter, think through what those pros and cons might be. So the assignments are I'm pausing here because I guess the assignment is the careers in seating and wheel mobility. So I changed that up from previous semester, so it kind of threw me for a loop. Tech eval discussion, and then the tech eval rebuttal. Okay, moving on to Module 12, Alternative Drive Mechanisms. Once again, I include the learning outcomes at the beginning of these video notes, and I also include it in the overview page. Alternate drive mechanisms are near and dear to my heart because in grad school I had a chance to work with the Yamaha push-rib activated power assist wheelchair. It was really cool to have that chance, and the Yamaha Pawpaw, as it's called, is still on the market. In the US, it's you can get the Yamaha, it's called the Extender now, through Sunrise Medical, so if you want to learn more about it. Alternate drive mechanisms range from mechanical solutions to electromechanical solutions. The mechanical solutions that we talk about in the book are geared systems, lever systems, and arm crank systems. So the geared systems are oftentimes built into the hub of a wheel, and the arm crank systems are oftentimes we're talking about hand cycles. Then there's also electromechanical systems, which the Pawpaw or push-rib activated power assist wheelchairs are one of those examples. Check out the resource page. So I've got the resource page that lists a number of different manufacturers. Check that out to check out the different types of alternate drive mechanisms that are currently on the market. One of the things that I want to highlight is this idea around emerging technologies. Alternate drive mechanisms are one of those emerging technologies. So I'm going to include a link to an article by Rotolo, Hicks, and Martin that talks about what is emerging technology. People use that term all the time, and oftentimes I hear people say, well, there's not a good definition for it. You just know when it's an emerging technology when you see it. And so Rotolo, Hicks, and Martin actually came up with a good definition of it. So I recommend checking out that article if you want to learn more about what is an emerging technology. The primary learning activity for Module 12 is the chapter 15 that was written by Teresa Berner and myself. It was fun to put this article together. As you're going through the article, or to put this chapter together, as you're going through the chapter, I highly recommend checking out the case report that she creates at the end of the chapter that Teresa created, because she does an excellent job of modeling how you can use the assistive technology variable assessments that we talk about throughout this course, and then how you can use standardized measures, in this case the wheelchair propulsion test and the wheelchair skills test, to not only document your assessment, but then use it as justification for recommendations. So I highly recommend checking that out in detail, taking some time to go through it. Okay, as we finish up here, I'll end with first the cool stuff in assistive technology. I have a link to Rural Life as a Wheelchair User. It was an article in New Mobility that was recently published, and so I'll add the link into the notes, or I got them in the video notes here. And then just some news and notes on the course. So as we get towards the end of the semester, the news and notes for the course tends to get longer and longer because there's more stuff going on at the end of the semester. First off, I just want to comment about grading. I got behind on grading, but I'm slowly and surely working through the assignments. So I apologize for that delay. In terms of feedback, what I've been trying to do this year, which is a little bit different, and I think you'll find more helpful, is rather than providing individual feedback, I've been providing group feedback, primarily group feedback through announcements. So check out those announcements because that's the way you really get into the, get in sync or get in sync with learning the materials as opposed to just studying them. So I'm providing a lot of feedback, but generalized feedback for the entire assignment. The other thing is I also provide some examples of what other students have done that has been good, or for the discussion posts, highlight some of those discussion posts so that we can learn from each other. I just want to make you aware that there's an undergrad research funding that's available for next year. So if you're interested in doing research, not necessarily with me, but with anybody within the health sciences program and in the School of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences, there's an email that was sent out from Jill Clutter. I'll put a link into the notes to so that you can access it, but there's an email from Jill Clutter about how you can apply for undergrad research funding for next year. And then I'm really excited to tell you about the Occupational Therapy Doctorate Program capstone presentations, which are happening on April 12th and April 13th in the afternoon. I highly recommend, if you're in the Columbus area, stopping by Atwell Hall in those afternoons to check out the capstone presentations. They're poster presentations. There's some poster presentations and some panel presentations, but it's a great way to learn about A, assistive technology, what we're talking about here. B, if you're an undergrad student looking to go to an occupational therapy or physical therapy program, to get a sense of what do those look like and talk to some of the students that are in those programs. If you're currently a grad student, but haven't gotten to the capstone, it's a great way to learn about what is the capstone experience all about. And then if you're a post-professional student, it's a great way to learn about how you can mentor OT, occupational therapy students. You don't have to be an occupational therapist in order to mentor a student for their capstone. I've had students before that I've mentored, and I'm an engineer. So it's a great way to give an occupational therapy student experience, and the thing that you gain out of it is that you have a chance, if you have a project that you want to work on that you don't have time to work on, they can help you with that project. So there's a lot of examples. You can get more information at u.osu.edu/KEMP, KEMP.59. Told you there's a lot of stuff to talk about. When I just mentioned that graduation's coming up, so if you're graduating and you're walking at the Cavelli Center, just let me know. I'd like to meet you. We've been talking online, been doing this online thing for a while, and it'd be great to meet you in person. So just let me know if you plan on walking for graduation or going through graduation at the Cavelli Center. And that's primarily for students in the School of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences. And then a reminder for OSU students who are not in the online distance education program. So basically all the students who are on campus, if you haven't signed up for the certificate program, I highly recommend signing up for the certificate program if you plan on taking more than one course in the program. And well, you probably are taking more than one course if you're taking HRS 5200. Okay, as I close out, just a quick reminder, please reach out to me if you have any questions or comments. And as always, have a great week, and I hope you enjoyed seeing me in a different location outside with the birds on this chilly, I guess it's chilly Tuesday morning. Thanks, and have a great week.